I am Halli Casser-Jayne, and welcome to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, where along with my partner in politics, veteran White House correspondent, and Time and Newsweek alum Matthew Cooper, we slice and dice all things politics, and some days, our lawmakers too. Before we get started, the Halli Casser-Jayne Show podcast is always available at hallicasserjayne.com and wherever you most like to listen to your podcasts. And be sure to follow me on Twitter at Halli Show Quotes. Now, on this week's episode of the Halli Casser-Jayne Show podcast, it's August, and the dog days of Ron DeSantis are upon us. While the governor of Florida mandates no mask mandates, Florida hospitals crumble under the weight of COVID-19 cases. Schools opened and parents anguish. Send their kids to public schools or not? A Sophie's Choice question forced on moms and dads statewide due to the Florida governor's malfeasance. Remember, what happens in Florida doesn't stay in Florida. The dog days of COVID-19 are raging throughout the country. Welcome to Republican Madness and the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. And that's just where we begin this week. Let's get started. It's Halli and Matt time. Here we go. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Halli. It's a great day in Washington. I hope you're doing okay down there.
Well, this is COVID hell here.
No kidding. Gosh, I shouldn't have even asked.
I mean, this is just like one of the craziest things ever. I in my life, I have never seen anything as crazy as this is. But let me give you just quickly a little background here. First of all, I have to tell you that all you hear is ambulances going off. That it's like living in Nazi Germany. It's terrifying. I have 3 friends who had 3 guests come into town. One from Hawaii, one from New York, one from Connecticut. All 3 contracted COVID and are in the hospital in Indian River County. One on a ventilator. So it's like so many people have it that wherever you turn, there it is. And that's a little frightening. They've asked us not to use 911, so you can imagine the amount of calls that are coming in that are jamming up their lines.
Wow.
So it's not, I don't think, properly being reported. You know, everybody's focused on DeSantis, as well they should be. But I don't know that the devastation and how it affects your day-to-day life, excuse me, because I'm still coughing.
Yeah, let me just ask you a couple of questions.
Thank you.
Kind of short answer kind of things. Are you seeing more people wearing masks as you go out? Or is
I did yesterday.
About the same?
No, I did yesterday. I went out yesterday to pick up some meds, and I was shocked. Everybody in that store had a mask on.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And when you watch TV or listen to the radio, whatever, I mean, are you seeing, like, is it kind of blanket coverage? Is it all kind of emergency disaster?
Yeah, I can't answer you there because I don't watch local news. Except for the weather, because we're getting another storm coming in that we watch. So I can't answer you there.
Right, of course.
I can tell you this. I have a huge following of Florida residents on my Twitter feed, and they range in age, and a lot of them are, mothers of children who had to go back to school the other day. And I will tell you that the panic and the hysteria and the anger is just across the board. They are totally freaked out, Matt.
And this is anger directed at Governor Ron DeSantis?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is no choice. Go ahead.
Right. Well, let me just ask you. So in your county where you live, is it one of the ones that's defying his ban on mask requirements?
No.
Or is it one of the ones that's going along with it?
It's not only going along with it, it's up there. But I did speak to some professionals, from school people a few months ago about this, and they already had cases in the summer stuff going on. People have to work, though.
Pediatric cases.
Pediatric cases, but also football. They have the summer football.
Right.
Sure. And people are caught between a rock and a hard place.
let's face it, people have to work and they have to earn a living. And they also can't stay home to take care of their own kids. Welcome to America.
Right. So the kids are definitely going back to school.
That's it.
If they're not required to wear masks, the faculty could wear masks if they wanted, but I assume they're not required to.
Listen, some of them want to, some of them don't. Let me give you some stats, though. Florida's averaging 20,000 cases today. Yesterday it was 24,753, breaking every record ever. The Hospital Association announced on Tuesday almost 15,000 people were hospitalized, and that jumped to 15,500 in a day. 200. That's with only 230 of 261 hospitals reporting, because you know that DeSantis also shut down the reporting. You know, the Florida Health daily tracking.
Right.
He shut that
so
down.
You're not getting the timely numbers.
Right. The interesting thing was that the numbers we're seeing are the CDC numbers, which, you know, they collect from the hospitals. And as I just said, hospitals aren't all reporting. But then Florida Health started to dispute the numbers and say, no, the CDC is over-reporting. Except guess what, Matt? There was only two or 3 point difference in the CDC and the Florida Health numbers. I mean, it's really rather a joke.
So we got an awful situation down there. It doesn't look like it's getting any better, because you're not seeing a big surge in vaccination.
No, there is a little bit, but not a big surge. No, look at people are entrenched. However, there is this strange kind of polling that's going on in this country. Most parents favor mask mandates, 60% on one poll, 63% on another. And I apologize, folks. I've been very sick, and I just want to keep plowing through this.
But you're COVID negative.
I'm COVID negative, but I got other problems. But I just want
to.
So
I'll try to carry it. I'll try to carry it here.
That's why I love my Matt. But here's the thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then I've got a few things to say, so you can
so I'll shut up.
A sip of water.
Suing, this thing is just out of control, and I'm going to tell you my last thing, then I'm going to throw it to you completely. Look at Charlie Crist is ahead of DeSantis in the polls now. But DeSantis is entrenched, and he may be stuck. I give it to you. Talk, my darling, talk.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine him backing down on this position of his that he's not going to allow individual school districts and businesses to have mask mandates. But, you know, he might be grateful if he loses in the courts. You know, at some point he can just say, oh, well, the courts made me give in. And that may be what happens. You know, I think some judges, I can't remember if it was in Florida, did uphold some local mask mandates. So we'll see what happens with that. I guess I would say a few things at this point. One is, you know, I mean, I don't know what you do if the people don't want to get. I mean, I think everybody's tried it the nice way. You like, you know, pretty please, it's going to be okay. You know, look, 190 million people have the shots. You cannot find someone who's been inoculated. I mean, maybe you find one person who got sick or something, but you would have a hard time finding anyone who got the shot who said, you know what, I regret it. If I could take it back, if I could take the pill tomorrow and get uninoculated, I would.
It's true. It's true.
I would so much rather be uninoculated, but I made a horrible mistake. I'm never going to get it again. That's, you know, nothing seems to be able to persuade. I mean, I guess we're seeing some movement towards inoculation, but, you know, there are these,
not enough.
said to be two camps. You know, there's the, like, the firm, I'll never take a shot, and then there's the sort of persuadable, I have some questions, I didn't know. Like we saw some of that in the pregnancy question. People didn't really feel like they knew whether they should get one. And that's why it was good yesterday. The, you know, CDC firmed up its guidance that pregnant people not only, you know, could get shots, but they should get shots. So I don't know how you kind of get to this next step.
Well, I do. I have a suggestion.
More people. I mean, there's obviously there's the vaccine passports. There's more local requirements. I mean, I sort of wonder if it would help if Fauci was on TV less. Like, he's just so, the crazy, he's just so polarizing at this point. Like, they can put someone else up more.
Well, so let me run this by you. Let me ask you a question.
Hero, but for the crazies, he's just too...
Right. He's
too nuts.
He's Fauci'd. He's been Fauci'd. But let me ask you this question. They did it with smoking. They did it with seatbelts. They did it with all children have to wear, being in car seats.
Yeah, right.
Maybe Congress needs to step in here and push towards this. I mean, there needs to be a universal mandate that the vaccine is required, period. That's all.
Well, I don't know if we've talked about this a few times. I don't know if Congress can do that, or if you can get that through the courts, or strap people to chairs. I don't know if you can. Smoking and seatbelts suggest the opposite. Those were not. I mean, seatbelts is the most analogous because it was a legal requirement. Smoking was persuasion that took years, but was ultimately
the same
successful.
And the same thing with children wearing, having to be in car seats. That was mandated.
And bike helmets and stuff. So no one wore a bike helmet when I was a kid.
Some things are stupid. So, I mean, I'll give you that. But I just have to say, if they don't contain this, it will become something so horrendous in the long run that it'll be devastating and unfixable. So it seems to me at this point they need to do something that says, that stops it before it becomes something that can't be fixed, i.e. morphing into another just horrendous variant. So that's why I just think something has to be done. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think you can leave it. Something. I just don't know what the thing is, but so I don't know. I guess I sort of feel like at this point, it's time to step up the pressure. I just don't know how,
what to do. Yeah, but I think you're right that DeSantis and Abbott in Texas are gonna, they're gonna feel the whirlwind for this. Now it's a year and a few months before they have to stand for re-election. But Abbott, I'm not sure if Abbott's up next year, but DeSantis is. I don't know. I mean, it's Florida's
a hellhole.
One crazy. It's one crazy. Yeah.
It's also the way that Florida is covered. Let me just. I'll try and whisper. That stops me from coughing. But Florida has strange media coverage. Some of the people who are really in on the media coverage are old. I'm going to say this and smack me down if you want, but it's true. Some of the big voices are old-time Republican redneck who managed to go from being small-time to the big time because they've got the ins into the DeSantis administration. And they are not serving the people of Florida well because it's redneck reporting. Somebody had to say it. I'm saying it. It's what's talked about quietly behind the scenes. So that's a problem too. Now, one thing that
it is a conservative media capital of the world.
There it is. And something that I put up. Let me ask you this, Matt. What about looking to what's fueling DeSantis's fire? Has anybody done a deep dive into where the money is going into his war chest?
I don't know, probably, but I get a sense it's not. You can raise a lot of money either way. I think it's not just the money. It's,
but who owns him?
Do you want to be the Trumpy guy in the party?
Who owns him? That's the thing. It's not being the Trumpy guy. It's who owns him.
Well,
I think he's owned. That's what I think.
You think he's owned?
Owned.
Right. Okay. Well, I understand what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah. I think he's owned, and I don't know who's owning him, but I think he's owned.
You think he's owned by an anti-inoculation?
I think he's owned by the Trumps, that whole right wing, crazy group. The guy who I can't think of anybody's names right now, but that's what I think. I think that he was put in by Trump. He could never have gotten elected if Trump hadn't come to his aid. But I think that whole conservative Trump thing and all those wackies.
But Owen suggests that these positions are not of his own volition.
I believe that's true, because he's a Harvard Yale graduate and he's not that stupid. He's stuck.
Yeah, that he's being compelled to do this by his benefactors.
That's what I think. Listen, let me also say this. Let me throw a Trump part out to you that came to my desk yesterday.
Sure.
Underreported, but a lot of Republicans are actually asking Trump personally, and I believe Lindsey Graham is one of them, to do a PSA, get vaccinated, and he's refusing. And they're really coming down on him hard, and he's still refusing.
Yeah, he's just not gonna.
He's not going to do it.
No, he's incapable of it, and he's too churlish to do it, and he's.
Well, I put that into the Ron DeSantis thing. So.
You mean you think Trump is owned, or?
No, I think Trump is owning DeSantis, and.
Trump owns him. Yeah. Well, I
know it's supposition, but it's worth a look at.
Yeah. Well, regardless of how he got there, this is how he is, and I hope more people get vaccinated in your state, and more people do the right thing.
So let me ask you. First of all, if you were here and this was going on, and you're vaccinated, but like you got lung problems and cough problems, would you go out even though you're vaccinated? Would you be gallivanting around?
Well,
I'm
no, I wouldn't. I don't gallivant even at the best of times. But I would go out. I would just be, cautious with all the masking and social distancing and.
You'd hit a restaurant?
Crap like that. Well, I think it depends. I would probably not eat indoors at a restaurant. I'd probably be okay outdoors. I think we still know outdoor transmissions are pretty low. I would just sort of do the kind of calculation you're always doing in your head if you're, a reasonable person. I'm not going to get in an elevator with 5 other people who are unmasked. No.
Well, the reason I bring it up is this. The stress level down here, Matt, is so high. And everybody you talk to, you can just feel it. People are just, just freaked out. And if it's happening here, it's happening in Texas. It's happening in other states where this is going on. It's a sad day. It's a very sad day.
Yeah, I mean, I just, George Washington made his army at Valley Forge get smallpox vaccinations.
We talked about that on the show with one of my guests the other day.
We've had the draft. People have been willing to do things for the country that involved a diminishment of their, autonomy and freedom. It's not unheard of. People were not freaking out about getting, measles shots. So,
you got 40% of Americans who are off the friggin' wall.
Well, I'm hoping it's not going to be that high, but
that's what it is right now, because the polls are showing 60 to 63% of Americans want mask mandates. 40%, and it's 40% of Republicans.
Well, whatever they want, I hope they just get the damn shots, and it's too bad because they're all hypocrites. I mean, all those Fox guys have shots. Trump hasn't a shot. DeSantis has been vaccinated. I mean, they're all vaccinated. They could tell everyone to get vaccinated.
I think that if things continue to go downhill the way they are, and there are no hospital beds here, they're going for the extra outside of the hospital kind of tent thing, which you can't do in Florida this time of year because of the storms that keep coming in. But here's the deal. I think the feds need to declare Florida a state of emergency and get their butts in here.
I don't know what that means exactly.
Well, that means...
I don't think feds can declare... It's not that feds declare state of emergency.
Aren't they? You have
states,
to get...
I don't think that I mean, I guess they can do it for disaster loans and stuff.
Right. And gain control of some of it.
But then FEMA has to be involved. It's more complicated.
Well, hell, buddy, I want FEMA in here. I want FEMA in here setting up tents and setting up vaccination
No,
stands.
FEMA's got to get invited. That's the problem.
Well, do they? If you declare
that was the problem in Katrina in Louisiana. The governor was a little slow on the invite, and FEMA wasn't exactly speeding to be ready.
Well, they weren't ready. That's why they didn't go in. But I think government can be very creative, and Joe Biden has a lot of goodwill, and that's what I think is somebody ought to get creative in that thing. This is a public health emergency. And by the way, what happens in Florida doesn't stay in Florida. Right?
No. What happens in Nairobi and Jakarta doesn't stay there either when it comes.
Well, so there you go. So it becomes
nothing. Yeah, right. I mean, look,
let's inject a little humor in here if you can. We can. It's not humorous really, but it is kind of like a way to play it. So it looks like Matt Gaetz is going to jail, Florida.
Well, what happened? What happened with Matt Gaetz?
Did you not see ABC's reporting? This guy Joel Greenberg is having a field day.
Right. This is the guy who turns state's evidence, and
apparently now has really given up the dirt. And it includes videos and WhatsApp stuff, and I mean there.
Yeah, and he was like the auditor in some county.
He was. It looked like somebody paid him, or a connection got him to be the. I guess in the district that Matt Gaetz controls.
So he had some county job.
Yeah, well, county, but. I think what this whole thing
convicted of various kinds of malfeasance
and sexual. This was all about paying women and women underage, girls because they're not women, girls underage to service people like Matt Gaetz, and apparently there is now huge amount of stuff that incriminates Gaetz as having participated with sex with underage girls and all sorts of drug parties. But watch this story because it's about the Republican Party in Florida and the counties that it owns and how it has enveloped and how it plays and manipulates Florida conservative politics. So the story is going to be they're going to get Gaetz probably and a few other people, but it really is about a culture in Florida in these, red districts, who's controlling them, how they're playing, etc. So I think it's a larger story, although the fun part is to see Gaetz go down because he's so reprehensible. It's ridiculous. But keep your eyes on the story for larger repercussions.
Sounds like we should, yeah. So,
yeah.
What else is on your mind? You want to talk about infrastructure?
No, I want to talk about Cuomo.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
And get you pissed off at me again.
Cuomo. Well, look. Well, look. I was listening to the speech when he did his big pivot and surprised a lot of people saying he was going to resign.
Could you have sat there and done that without crying? That amazed me. Not a tear shed. I would have been freaking out, wouldn't you?
Well, it takes a different temperament to, be a politician at a high level anyway. Yeah.
He's cold.
Yeah, but, I think at this point it was inevitable that he would probably have to give in. There was just no support for him. Impeachment would have prevented him from running for office again. So, this gives him a slim chance to fight another day. $
18 million war chest. And he let us know that he is not really going down without a fight. He took the wind out of Biden's sails on infrastructure that day, timed his press conference and had the girl talk, the attorney talk for him first to take up more and more time. He was pissed at Biden, and he let Biden know. But he's sitting on an $18 million war chest no small change. And he controls it. And I think that's really, really interesting. The reason I wanted to talk about it, though, is it became a no-win. And I was angry at the media for this. Look, assuming he did it, and we'll all assume he did it, and he's reprehensible, there was no, but that's the way it goes. What if he didn't? He had no way out if he didn't do it, because he was so, he at every corner, if he said this, they said it's gaslighting. If they said that, they said, we'll impeach you. He had no way out. And I don't think anybody, because we all assume he's guilty, but there is the possibility that it all was misread. You know what I'm saying? What if the guy is innocent? He didn't have a way out. And I don't think any man should be in that position or any women. And that's why we have the courts. Not the court of public opinion, but the courts. And for the future, I think this is real dangerous ground for men in particular right now. Now, a lot of women say, well, all those years women had to defend. Now it's men's turn. The pendulum can go too far either way.
Well, there was a legal process here. He asked for an independent investigation. One was launched by the Attorney General of the state of New York. They did an extensive report. At that point, they did not do a criminal referral, but various district attorneys throughout the state began the kind of legal investigation you're talking about.
No, I hear what you're saying, but
Westchester and Albany and elsewhere, and then the political process kicked in with the move towards impeachment. I mean, it wasn't a summary execution. This has gone on for months.
I don't know. I read part of that report, and some of it I think is questionable, but I don't want to argue that. I'm simply saying I think we really have to be careful here. And let me talk to you about the rehabilitation process. Al Franken was able to rehabilitate himself. Our friend Chris Matthews, to some degree, has. Mark Halpern, no. I mean, how do you decide who's you can rehabilitate and who you can't? There's that, too. I mean, so this is, I'm just saying we need to look at this and really be careful with this.
Look,
that's where I am on it.
No, I totally agree. And, I, from the beginning, thought the Franken thing was crazy, and that the Chris Matthews thing was crazy, and the Halpern ostracism was appropriate. In this case, I find it hard to feel like he got a raw deal.
Well, I don't want to personalize it to him. I'm simply saying, in the scheme of it all, we have to be very careful about this. And I don't think we've arrived at the proper way to do this. I really don't. Now Chris is not a politician, versus Franken is, versus Mark Halpern's not, or Jeffrey Toobin. I mean, or what's his name, who's in jail, or Bill Cosby. I mean, crazy shit. And the one who's walking free, by the way, is the only one who admitted it, which is really crazy, which is Trump.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be careful, and we need to be more fair in all of this. And we need to arrive at something maybe a little bit better. Letitia James is a woman, too. There's no answer right now, but there will be.
I mean, look, I mean, I believe Eugene Carroll's, claims about Trump from 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
But on the other hand, like the courts, that's a tough court case to, prove. It's a libel, it's a libel case.
She has the dress, though, doesn't she, with the DNA?
I don't know what the evidence
she has a dress
is, decades later. I don't know. But all I'm saying is I don't think there's any easy way out of this.
No, but I think it's well worth pointing out. There is no easy way out of this.
Look, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't mean to come off last week as, defending him. I'm simply saying, I
understand.
My instinct is to
I think you just
balance.
My standard is, was there something resembling due process? Did they get a fair hearing? I don't think Katie Hill did. I don't think Franken did. I definitely think Cosby and Weinstein and
There it
Epstein
was. Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I hear you. I
I
hear
think
you.
Cuomo more or less did. And
I think
so,
it's a more or less on the Cuomo thing. But that's
well, look, I don't like seeing elections basically overturned, but
so just for the parlor game. Is he coming back? Does he have a chance to come back?
I don't know.
The king of coming back?
Spitzer ran for after he was forced out of the governorship with his prostitution mess in 2008. He was he tried a political comeback by running for comptroller in New York City and lost the primary. I can't imagine Cuomo wants to sort of get reduced to running for a lower office.
If I were working for him, you know what I would be having him do right now?
What?
I would absolutely get him to go to Africa, the inner city of Baltimore or something. I would have him doing save young girls kind of. I would have him doing all sorts of stuff like that. I'd get him out of the politics and I'd get him into being a person who's saving people. Working with young boys on sexual stuff, on the new way. That's never been done, and that's something that I think that men can do. By the way, I just want to say this. It's so rare that you take women down on sexual stuff, Katie Hill being the rare exception. But men, you guys gotta button it up, zip it up. Okay, moving on to infrastructure. I know your favorite thing.
Yeah, well look.
Hey.
Yeah.
You got the floor.
Yeah, so infrastructure. Well, look, I mean, it was a big victory for Biden's package to pass the U.S. Senate with a lot of Republican support, including Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader's backing. This is a big bipartisan package. Now, it's not law yet. It still has to get through the House, where there's some grumbling from progressives on the Democratic side, but I think the coast looks pretty clear. There's a complicated interplay between this bill and the larger budget that's still being worked out, where there's a lot of fighting and how the sequencing of the votes is going to go. But it was a real accomplishment for Biden and for those who stuck with this process. And I think it was. I don't think it means we're going to have a kumbaya moment. I don't think it foretells a lot of, bipartisan stuff. But it was still it was a big deal nonetheless. And the biggest thing about it is not the politics, but the substance of the bill, because it does provide a lot of money for things the country clearly needs. And Trump could have had something like this himself. His first weeks in office, this was there for him to do, but he was such a numbnuts about it.
Numbnuts. Nothing numb about his
such
nuts.
A numbnuts. First he fell under, well, he's sort of an idiot. I mean, he was first he was just all caught up in the obsessions of the House Republicans, like Paul Ryan, who wanted to privatize roads and stuff. They didn't want to, it was all kind of ridiculous. They had a much different vision of how to spend infrastructure money. It was all about basically trying to leverage the private sector and giving them breaks so that they would build private roads and stuff. I mean, it was sort of asinine, and they've gotten away from that, mercifully.
I have to say this, though. It was the second big package that Biden got through. And it really tells us moderation, if you will, and who in Congress, the old boy, quote unquote, I'm putting that in quotes because there are women too, network, is something that is very appealing to people of sound mind who are in Congress. And if we could just get back to that, what did Tip O'Neill used to say about, having lunch and drinking with your enemy? Chris Matthews used to talk about that all the time. I loved it.
Right.
If that's where we need to get back to. If I don't know, it's a different generation coming up. They're angry at everything in ways that our generation wasn't. But it works. It works. I think that Biden working behind the scenes was absolutely brilliant, and we'll wait to see what happens in in the in the next
got to
phase.
get to the House. It's got some
hurdles.
ways to go.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got some leverage here when both chambers are so closely divided. So the progressives are being pissy. Yeah, I think some House Republicans are going to vote for this, but House moderates are upset about the other spending package I mentioned. So,
It'll get through.
we'll see where we go. It'll get through, though.
It'll get through. I want to talk about something else very quickly. I want to talk about Afghanistan. God, Matt, this is just horrible. It's sad, but it's also embarrassing. Talk to us about Afghanistan.
Yeah, well, the last time the U.S. lost a war was what? Vietnam or Iraq, if you want to look at it that way. At best, a stalemate. Here's another. I think it's just a huge, huge loss for the United States, a huge disaster for the people of Afghanistan, a huge national security threat going forward. I think just a disaster. And I have so many questions about, the Taliban, where they're getting the arms for this. They don't have a huge army, so do they have popular support? Why are they able to launch this blitzkrieg, this lightning attack, and take over so many provinces so quickly? And the Afghan army that we spent so much money to train and equip is just collapsing. And I think we're headed towards a huge humanitarian disaster, refugees everywhere, the repression of women in that country, the reemergence of safe haven for terrorists. I think this idea that, even if they take over, we'll be able to keep an eye on them, make sure they don't have another bin Laden. I mean, come on, it's going to be.
So what was Biden's thinking on this?
I think it was 20 years is too much. It's not up to us anymore. We can't do it forever. But
the ramifications. Okay, if you listen, we look at Syria and we don't do anything there either, and that's a hellhole. Other than having special ops in there, I guess the point that I'm trying to get here is how many of these failed states do we have? You know who's going to take them over. You know what they're going to do. But it becomes a national security issue to us, and that's the part I just, frankly.
I think they decided it was not going to be like, Germany or Korea, where you can leave troops there forever and, keep the peace. And
the truth is, they were keeping things in check while they were there. It wasn't great. They couldn't win it.
Yeah.
But they were keeping things in check. But I don't know. Foreign policy is not on people's radar.
For those of us who are old enough to remember the fall of South Vietnam, it is a huge sort of psychic wound for the U.S. and it's going to be again. Think of all those veterans and U.S. veterans who gave their lives and limbs to protect a piece of Kandahar or some piece of terrain that's now just going to be walked over by the Taliban.
And it's interesting to me. Let me ask you this, because you just brought up something very important. The difference between Nam and this is that in Nam, it was about a political ideology, if you will. And this is about crazy people in Afghanistan and religious lunatics. And that's where I think the difference becomes, because we have relations now, and they're pretty good with Vietnam, because it went on to be a country that more or less is functional, in a sophisticated way, versus what we have and we're going to have in Afghanistan. And I think that's the difference here, and the part that I think Biden missed.
Yeah, well, you had left-right support for this war, at least for a long time. And, the circumstances are different, obviously, between this and Vietnam. I just mean when you see the final...
Well, sure, I get it.
When you see the final days, the U.S. Embassy being evacuated,
hard.
The helicopter on the roof, the refugees fighting to get on the last plane out. When that happens, and it sounds like it will, it's going to be... It's going to be very bad for
right. But like country, I said, I think
also for Biden politically.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to see how he frames all of this. We move on because there's no answer there, and I want to move on to something that I think is very underreported, and we need to have a big conversation about this, Matt. And that's about Attorney General Garland. Whoa. Percolating deeply is a giant disgust with him at the moment. I want to go to all these secret testimonies that are coming into Congress. This guy Pack, the former U.S. attorney in Atlanta, secretly having a conversation with congressional investigators about his abrupt resignation in January that had been prompted by the Justice Department officials warning, right? And that's Trump trying to get him to do what he wanted him to do, or
right.
Who's the other guy who also testified last week?
Well, there was Jeffrey Rosen.
Jeffrey Rosen. I mean, so there's all of this under the radar stuff going on. And there's also the Stormy Daniels payoff thing, which needs to be prosecuted because of a statute of limitations. And now you're starting to see the big lawyers, the Harvard lawyer, and George Conway and a few of the others who've been so vociferous about Trump saying, are you kidding me? You got the goods to get him? Why is there no criminal investigation going after Trump now after all of this testimony? And it appears that A.G. Garland is just not wanting to go there. And I think it's a huge, huge, huge mistake. Breaking this morning that former Attorney General Barr, Trump's man until he wasn't, had asked the Justice Department to look into voter fraud claims, for instance. Found none, and he said, bye-bye, Trump. I think something, I've always said, Matt, that this country doesn't get fixed until Trump is fixed. Then he's put in jail. I just don't understand what's going on, but I do see a lot of frustration coming from, the big lawyer types in this country right now. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I think Attorney General Merrick Garland has been very circumspect about wanting to do prosecutions relating to Trump, about defending the Department of Justice's prerogatives in the case. So he hasn't been eager to turn over documents relating to his predecessor, Bill Barr, over to courts that are investigating. So you've got a conflict between kind of the political side wanting to go after Trump and to investigate what the hell happened in those final months in office to steal the election. And Garland, who's trying to defend the institution, the prerogatives of the Department of Justice. And Garland's not a very political guy, and so that's an issue here.
And Biden, who appointed Garland?
Yeah, well, Biden could push him, but Biden also said, I'm not going to insert myself in criminal probes. And so for him to order Garland to, engage in prosecutions or to do whatever, turn things over to the courts, would, smack of hypocrisy from Biden. So I think this kind of muddle is going to continue.
I think it's a big mistake, and I think that it's going to come back to bite if something isn't done here. And I think that includes in the election process about to take place as well. I mean, the ramifications of not following through on this are just massive. And I don't think can leave it to the January 6th Commission, although they have said that they're looking into the criminal aspects of this as well.
Right. No, I know they're going to look at all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You poor thing. I hope you can make it to the end of the hour here.
Do I sound that bad? Oh God, it's pitiful, isn't it? Anyway, no, that's what I'm saying to you, kiddo. This one I think is bad, and I think that this country needs to be purged and cleansed of Trump, and the only way that you're going to do that is to follow through on that criminal probe of it. I think Garland will only do that if the road is pretty clear, but maybe he'll get there. I don't know. We'll see. You want to talk about Rand Paul?
Yeah, I haven't really followed this, but he had some stock trade or something.
His wife was
holding,
had bought Trump's vaccine, regenerative, whatever it's called. And she invested not heavily, and apparently she lost on the deal. Anyway, I think everybody who invested in that did lose, but he kept it secret. And he also was suspended from YouTube for promoting anti-mask, anti-vax stuff.
Yeah, he's this guy is the best. I mean, he's too much. First of all, it's always amazes me that members of Congress and their immediate family can buy and trade individual equities and stocks. It's insane. They should all be in, index funds. I mean, there's no reason. I mean, it's incredible if they can trade stocks on things they know about. It's unbelievable.
He is so creepy, Matt. Can I say that? Can I be?
The idiot still loses money.
The
father was a nut, and he's a nut, and that whole shit with that neighbor where he got in a fist fight with the neighbor over the leaves, and I mean, he's a weird dude.
Can we talk about his hair?
Yeah, there's like a little squirrel kind of thing on top. The father had a little charm, at least. The father.
Don't make me laugh because I'm going to choke.
Nut job. Because it's like a woodchuck. It's like a Davy Crockett hat.
Don't. I just
weird.
think he's.
It's not. I don't think it's a toupee.
I don't know. That's what I want to know. To me, like it has to be. But,
well, everyone's entitled to have bad hair, but I mean, he's just bad policy. He's just bad news, and
who elects people like that?
He's kind of a mean guy.
That's what I want to know.
He's kind of mean.
Oh yeah.
And with the Fauci thing, every time Fauci's up there, he's with the, he's just an asshole.
I guess the thing is, who these people who get elected, you just wonder. I'm wondering. Okay, enough of the squirrel. I'm not sure if I like the squirrel image, the woodchuck image.
I liked when Trump made fun of him because Trump was funny during that.
What did he say?
Race and the primaries. Well, he used to make fun of everybody on stage. He'd be like, Rand Paul, this one over here. He'd call me up. He'd say, "Oh, I want to meet with you. Can we play golf?" I said, "Fine, I have to play golf with him. Let me tell you, you don't want to do that."
I don't know. It's concerning. It's absolutely concerning. I have, this one's upsetting. Just when we were going to record, I guess they're saying that Palestinian armed groups' rockets and mortar attacks during the May 2021 fighting at the Gaza Strip killed and injured civilians in Israel and Gaza.
That's breaking news.
I bring it up because there still is a problem here where how the reportage comes and the UN keep going after Israel and they're making the point that the Iron Dome, at least on the Israeli side, didn't do its job 100%, but Israelis were killed. And it's like strange to see a report that says Israelis were killed, because we don't normally see that. We see Palestinians were killed, but you hardly ever see. But I wanted to bring it up to the fact that are we missing Bibi Netanyahu?
Are we missing him leaving office?
Yeah, I mean,
regretting his departure.
No. But it didn't make any difference. Do we feel any? It's like Israel's off the radar now, without Bibi making a lot of noise.
Yeah, well, for now, yeah.
It's kind of interesting that was the result of all of this. Things have quieted down, and maybe that's a good thing. Right? Wrong?
Yeah. I mean, I think when they're not shooting, that's a good thing.
Always. Inflation, 20-year high. Oh, my.
Well, this is the question. Is it short-term supply chain COVID issues, or is it a long-term problem?
I can tell you this.
I'm still at the Fed. I think it's the latter.
Biden did ask OPEC. Yeah, Biden this morning did ask OPEC to up their production.
Yeah, well, that would definitely help. I mean, the car prices are up because semiconductor production is slow. So it's like fucking up all kinds of industries. You got, and then, of course, people are still getting these big benefits, so they're not going back into the labor market. So labor wages have gone way up, which is good mostly, but that does have the effect of raising prices. I think that this will settle down, but, well, I know a lot of people are worried. And in the meantime, it's expensive.
It's very expensive. I mean, oh my God, my food bill has doubled.
Yeah.
Not up by a...
And you don't eat.
Well, I eat, but the problem with me is I eat really healthy. And healthy food is the most expensive food.
Right.
So I was shocked the other day. I was like, huh? The thing about this also is I'm wondering what this COVID surge is going to do, because people are not shopping. They're saying school supplies, people aren't buying school supplies like they would have been, and they had stocked high for them. So let's keep our eye on this, because I think this is kind of a crazy deal, personally.
Oh, yeah. Look, I think in a lot of ways, I think these midterms are going to be very tough. I'd be worried for the Dems.
I hope you're wrong, because I don't think we survive as the nation we know. I mean that sincerely. I don't think we survive as the nation that we know if the Republicans gain control.
Well,
I don't. Listen, I'm living in test land. You want to know what Republican?
No, I know.
You want to know what Republican rule is? Here it is, Florida, where you have no rights.
Yeah, man. Sean Hannity's your neighbor.
Oh, please. They all are. Every one of them.
Boy, now you got Ann Coulter, Bill O'Reilly.
They're all here. They're all my
Jared and Ivanka.
I mean, it's not pretty. It's not pretty.
Everybody's in Florida.
So Mr. Obama had his birthday bash. He lowered the number because they were giving him a hard time from 760 to 500. When I didn't hear from you last week, I thought you had gone. Were you invited?
No, I was not invited.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But it is interesting that that's all he did was take it from 760 to 500 plus. Seriously, just it wasn't cool. But for my friends who love the royals, uninvited were Meghan and Harry. And the gossip this morning is that Obama has made a choice to stick with Wills and Kate and leave Harry and Meghan to find their own way.
Yeah, okay. Well, could be.
Hey, people want to hear this. They love that. They love it. Okay. So as we go to close, what are your predictions? What should we be looking for? What's happening?
Well, let's see if Biden can get the rest of his budget through the system. It's not going to happen next week, but the process is underway. And let's hope to God people in your state start getting vaccinated at a brisker clip, and that the kids wear masks, mandate or no mandate.
I'm going to bring up Rudy Giuliani and the My Pillow guy.
Yeah.
Because they're comic relief at this point, and isn't that sad?
Right. It is. It is. You take care of yourself.
Thank you for tuning in to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, a production of Resec LLC. The Halli Casser-Jayne Show posts new podcasts Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, and is available at hallicasserjayne.com and on all your favorite apps. Be sure to visit us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and follow me on Twitter at The Halli CJ Show. Until next time, this is Halli Casser-Jayne.